This video will teach you some of the basic techniques to put together a podcast using Audacity. Audacity may look tricky to use, but many of its effects and functions are simple once you understand what you're looking for. It can be a little intimidating at first, especially since all you have in front of you are some menus and the waveform. I'm going to walk us through a few common effects you can use to improve your sound quality and overall production. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using both a voice track and a music track. You can import these by clicking on the File drop-down and then selecting Import and then Audio. This will bring up a dialog box that will let us select our files. First, I'll import the narration and then the music. We're going to want to put the music on the top layer. We can do this by simply clicking on the music file and dragging it up, or by adding it before we add the voice track. Now, notice that our music goes on for around 3 minutes. Since our narration is only 1.5 minutes long, we don't need all of the music. For my podcast, I don't care too much about where the music cuts off, but if you want to, you can pick out particular sections. We're going to cut out at about 1 minute and 45 seconds. That way we have a little extra on both ends. When you're working, it's a good idea to have a little more than you need until you know exactly where your file is going to begin and end. To cut our audio, we're going to click on the music channel. Then we're going to click about where we want to do our split, here at 1 minute and 45. Then we're going to go to Edit, select Clip Boundaries, and then Split. Our sample is now cut into 2 pieces. We double-click the one we want to get rid of, and then press the Delete key. We don't want our music and our narration to start as soon as the file starts playing. We can give our voice clip a little breathing room by selecting the Time Shift tool. With this tool selected, left-click and hold on the audio you want to move, in this case, the voice track, and then drag it to the right. Be sure to move back to the selection tool when you're done. This isn't too bad. There are a few things we can do to make it a bit more professional, though. First, we'll add fades to our music. This is a pretty easy thing to do. Simply highlight a few seconds of the music track at the beginning, then go to the Effects menu and choose Fade In. Audacity will automatically adjust the volume for you. Now, highlight the last few seconds of your music track. You probably already guessed it. We're going to go to the Effects menu and select Fade Out. Next, we'll talk about a couple ways to clean up your audio. This is a little time-consuming, and unwanted sounds can usually be eliminated by taking a higher quality recording. We're still going to cover these effects in case re-recording is not an option, or you just want to learn more about Audacity's capabilities. We're going to learn how to reduce the annoying pops and cracks. These are called plosives, and they're usually caused by speaking too close to your microphone or not using a filter. You may want to re-record your audio, but if there's only a few errors, it's easier to, just use another effect. You can easily find these pops by using the Zoom tool and left-clicking a couple times on your voice track. You can find the most offensive ones simply by listening to the track, but you can also look directly at the waveform. The pops will have a jagged N shape that stretches towards the top and bottom of the channel. To remove them, highlight them with the Selection tool, then go to the Effects menu and select Equalization. You may be presented with a straight line. Left-click on the grid at 20 Hz, 40 Hz, 60 Hz, about 80 Hz, and 200 Hz. It doesn't have to be exactly specified. We're just building a curve that builds from negative decibels to 0 decibels, or normal volume. In the track, this means that what we have selected will start at negative volume and eliminate the popping sound before returning to the normal volume for the rest of the voice clip. Click OK. You'll see the waveform change. This will reduce the volume of the popping, although it might not eliminate it entirely. Another thing you might want to do is remove loud breathing or unexpected noises from the audio. Loud breaths can usually show up in a long oval shape. Or you can listen to the file and figure out which ones you want to remove. In this case, we're going to highlight a large oval section, go to the Edit menu, choose Remove Special, and finally click Silence Audio. This will replace whatever you've selected with complete silence, but without splitting or deleting anything from the track itself. If the silence is now too long or too awkward, you may want to reduce it by going to Edit, Remove Special, and Split Delete. Now, move the tracks closer to one another using the Time Shift tool. Test to make sure the pause is just right. Then highlight both tracks over the gap and click Edit, Clip Boundaries, and Join. This will put them back together into one single track. Finally, we can talk about ducking. This is using the volume levels of one track to affect the volume levels of another. Simply, we're going to have Audacity automatically turn down the volume of the music whenever we're talking. Let's talk about a couple things first. 1. Audacity uses the actual waveform of the narrative track to tell the music when to be quiet. We want to get our narration exactly how we want to sound it before we implement ducking. If we use this effect first and then make changes to the narrative track later, the volume of the music is going to be inconsistent, so it may be quiet in moments of silence, or worse, it may pick up when we're talking. Second, it might be counterintuitive, but you want to select the track that you want to reduce the volume on. You also want this track to be above the track that's controlling it. This is how Audacity handles ducking. Double-click on the music track to select the entire track. Then, from the Effects menu, select Auto Duck. There are a few settings here we may want to change. We don't want our music to jump in volume between words, only between long pauses in sentences and paragraphs. We also want the music to get quiet enough, but not too quiet. This might depend on the volume of your music and speaking tracks. Between -5 and -10 decibels is usually a good setting. The outer fade tells Audacity how long before our voice starts and how long after it starts to fade out the music. Inner fade does the same thing, but continues into the actual sound of our speaking. Fade down is before the speech, and fade up is returning to normal volume after it ends. Maximum pause is the amount of time the voice can be silent before the music will fade back in. Your settings may depend on your tracks and require a little experimentation to get perfect. For my file, I'm going to duck 10 decibels, have a maximum pause of 1 second, and set the fades to 0.5 seconds apiece, making for a total of 1 second fades on either side of the speaking track. Click OK, and ducking will automatically be applied across the entire music track. Click play to preview your volume levels. If you like them, great. If not, you can press Command or Control-Z to undo the filter and try again. There are a ton of ways you can play with your sound. For a basic project, I would worry about fading out, fading in, cutting out unwanted sounds, and ducking. You can also cut and combine clips using the techniques we covered earlier, but that's a much more complicated subject. Remember, save often. Bring all the sound files you need in one place, experiment, and have fun. Once you get down the basics, Audacity is very powerful and user-friendly. Thank you for following along with this tutorial, and I hope you enjoy creating your own podcasts and audio files.